Welcome. Come on in, everybody. Come on in. The show started at 8:30 tonight. I hope I didn't. Thank you, Michelle. That song is fire. I love it. Thank you, Michelle. Oh, let it go. Michelle, you standing with the show tonight? Oh, let it go. Come on in, come on in, come on in. Tonight's topic is, let's see, I got to find my little cheat sheet. Come on in, come on in. Just getting started, 8:30. Yes, there we go. So today is Domestic Violence Month in October. And so this story that we're doing tonight is right on time, right on time. Right on time. Oh. A minute. Wait a minute. Come on in, come on in, come on in. Oh, there we go. Hey y'all, hey y'all, hey y'all, hey y'all, hey y'all, hey y'all. Oh, Michelle's on the show tonight. I should bring Michelle. Michelle, you want to come on to the camera with me? Come on in. So tonight we're talking about domestic abuse and domestic violence, same thing. And October is Domestic Violence Month. Hey, Tanisha. Michelle, you missed Tanisha. She was mocking you and me while she was dancing. Oh, no. Karen was mocking you, Michelle. Tanisha was mocking me. Hey, y'all. Hey, y'all. Hey, y'all. We are talking about domestic violence tonight. We have an interesting story that I found on Facebook that was floating around. I don't know this lady. Hopefully she's safe. That's my disclaimer. Yeah, I'm talking about this story that you can't see that. You can't see that at all. Oh, that's not going to work. Anyway. Yeah, Michelle, they were marking you like how you do that one song. And then Tanisha, hey, Pat. Hope you feeling better. Pat, this is your subject. I forgot you're the expert in this. And this is Domestic Violence Month. October is National Domestic Violence Month. Yeah. So I'll be giving information on domestic violence and that 1-800 number for domestic violence if you know anybody that's in a domestic violence situation. So I'm waiting for more people to join. Come on in. Anybody want to be a guest on camera with me? I want to test out my new option that I have. Let's see if I know how to do this. Okay. Let's see. Is that it? I'm going to do that because I don't know what that is. Who is it? Eddie Kane Jr. Oh, yeah, tonight is really, really, really interesting show. So I'll get started. So I posted this. There's the guest thing. If anybody want to click on that, you can be on camera with me. Yeah, so you don't have to be, so don't get scared. Yeah, so tonight is domestic violence. Well, this month is domestic violence. Oh, yeah, 5 heartbeats, Michelle. So I found this ad on Facebook. It was just floating around, and it says, my boyfriend beat me black and blue after he suspected I was on the phone with another man. He later found out the man on the phone with me, was my brother. Now he is asking for forgiveness and wants to marry me. I have forgiven him. Should I go ahead to accept his hand in marriage? Please advise. And I forgot to put that up on here. I'm going to type this up. So what are your thoughts on this? And after he suspected I was on the phone with oh with another. Michelle, you said no. She shouldn't take him back. Another man. He later found out. I cannot see what I'm typing. I'm sorry, I'm trying to type this out. The man on the phone. I see your comments. I'm coming. Was my brother. Now he is asking for forgiveness and wants to marry Oops, I typed that wrong. So I see you. Michelle says if he did it once, he will do it again. Pat is like, no, he did it once and he'll keep doing it. But what if she was actually cheating before? See, we don't know the background, and he realized she was up to her old tricks. What do y'all think out there? Y'all are quiet. Should I go ahead? I agree with y'all. If he did it once, he's going to continue to beat her. And I always say a person like that, usually if they are like very possessive like that, that only gets worse. And there is nothing you can tell that person that you're not cheating. In their head, in their mind, they have that little voice that's constantly telling them that the person they're with is cheating, and that comes from somewhere deep in their childhood. I'm telling you, people don't just become possessive for no reason. If you probably looked at half the people that had that possessive spirit, I call it, they probably had some kind of trauma or some kind of sexual trauma in their childhood that makes them feel like there's that trust issue there. There's something there that, has triggered this mindset. And so, Pat, I know this is your expertise topic. So if anybody out there recognizes these symptoms like this and you're going through it or your family member is going through it, there is a hotline that I got offline because this is National Domestic Violence Month. The month of October is. And that 1-800 number is 1-800-799-SAFE or 1-800-799-7233. But yeah, so there's a lot of things going on here. So the first part of this story, she's saying, and I'm going to put it up here after I make sure I type it correctly. My boyfriend beat me black and blue after he suspected I was on the phone with another man. So right there, as soon as she said that, I'm thinking domestic abuse, domestic violence. This is probably not the first time he's done this. And like y'all said out there, if he did it once, he's going to do it again. And it just keeps getting worse. And then she says, now he is asking for forgiveness and wants to marry me. So why would you marry somebody that just made you look like they knocked your teeth out of your mouth, hit you in the head, and want to continue to marry that person. Then you start wondering, what about her? What is her self-esteem like? Does she feel like she can't get anybody else? Should I go ahead to accept? I'm going to type it correctly. And accept his apology. Let's see what that says. Oh, okay. There we go. So I put that up there. My boyfriend beat me black and blue after he suspected I was on the phone with another man. He later found out the man on the phone was my brother. Now he was asking for forgiveness. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm trying to make sure I type this thing out. Should I go ahead and accept his apology? Yeah. A variety of things. Low self-esteem. Yes. There's some low self-esteem issues going on. There is, and that's why you have to know yourself before you get involved in a relationship. Because if you have low self-esteem, you will let anybody come in and do anything to you and accept it and go along with the okie doke. Then you go get married. Then who knows what may happen. I don't know if you guys seen this story. I think it was an African couple where there was domestic violence, and then the brother and the husband got into an argument, and the husband threatened. He's like, I'm going to kill your sister. And then I think a few days later, he actually did kill the sister. So you can't just ignore that type of behavior and just go along with the okie doke. This poor lady probably didn't have a support system, somebody to kind of talk to her. So Michelle says that's not always the case. Some stay because they think they can change them, like my daughter. Okay. So yeah, Michelle, I need you on this. I need you to click that little button. So yeah, that's a good point, Michelle. So some women think they can change the man. They think if I stay with them, if I have a kid with them, if, I don't know, if I love them harder, if I support them. But somebody with a mental, like if you're staying with a man like that and he has a mental health issue, I don't care what you do. I don't care how many babies you have. I don't care how much you work, how much you give him money. He's still gonna be who he is and be abusive. Okay, and then Karen says she may have nowhere to go. Okay, oh no, sorry, that's Pat. Pat said she may not have anywhere to go. Okay, and that's true. I mean, sometimes people get, a lot of domestic abuse happens when the man starts to separate the wife from her family, and then she's out there by herself, and so she can only depend on him. So then she stays. So Michelle, I'm going to post your comment up there. That's not always the case. Some stay because they think they can change them, like my daughter. Got it. And then Karen says, this is probably not the first time he's done this. I'm curious how he arrived at proposing marriage to her. I'm thinking because this, like I said earlier, Karen, I think this was passed around. Hopefully this lady is safe. I don't know who she is. I saw it on my social media page, and I thought it would be a great topic to discuss on here. So I'm going to go back to your question. This is probably not the first time he's done this. I'm curious how he arrived at proposing marriage to her. I think he proposed marriage just to keep her to stay there. And, I think that's what it is. Because isn't it when you get married, like say, for instance, if he beat her up so bad and he got arrested, when you're married, and I need to research this, but I thought I saw this on TV or something, that when you're married, you can't really testify against your husband or whatever. Some stay because they don't have an escape plan. That's true, Karen. And then Pat said that too. Some stay because they don't have anywhere else to go. But it's horrible. But y'all, think of this. Somebody right now is going through this. As we sit on this computer and talk about this, somebody is actually in this position right now and don't know what to do. So I'm passing out this because this month, October, is National Domestic Violence Month. And so the numbers for National Violence Domestic Hotline is 1-800-799 SAFE or 7233. I'll put that number on. I'll type it. The isolation, Pat. Yep, I put that. Isolation is a red flag. As soon as, if you're out there, ladies, and you're experiencing some of this stuff we're talking about, if somebody isolates you from their family, from your family, that's not a good thing. You don't want that. I know you may be in that predicament and think, oh, he loves me, or that's why he's doing it. He's trying to protect me. No. The end result is could be horrible. So let me put this 1-800 hotline number on here. 799. Just put the number because 7233. National Violence Domestic Hotline. So no matter where you live, you can call this number. Let's see. I'm sorry, I'm missing comments here. Let me just go back. Yep. Pat and Karen says red flags are when they start to try to isolate you. Yeah. Michelle says she thinks because he don't do it all the time, it's okay. And when he says sorry, but every time he gets mad, he threatens her, but I'm not going nowhere. I will always be there when she calls. Yeah. So that's that possessive stuff. And that's that guilt trip. But that's when you know that woman probably has like really bad self-esteem, Domestic violence is hard, y'all. But what's the scary part is, like I said, somebody's going through this right now. Even though this is, I don't know if this lady, hopefully this lady is okay. But somebody right now is, okay, Michelle, I'm putting your thing up. Let me put that back up. Intimidating. Yep, they intimidate. Well, what does this say about her? Like, is there any self-love there? I know I said low self-esteem, but what else could be, the reason why somebody wants to stay in that type of environment? It could be daddy issues. Like there's no dad there. Like she never had a dad. I see a lot of clients, a lot of women whose dad like stepped out and then who left the family, abandoned the family. And then the girls, they have low self-esteem. They don't really know how to interact with men because they've never seen that positive relationship. So they may stay in a predicament like this. But not always the case. It just depends on how strong that individual is. So, but a lot of the times is when women have issues with men, there is a father that wasn't there or a father that was abusive or something that the women are not, I would say, comfortable with how they interact with men. So this is just a sad story. Should they get married? Church people are always trying to marry people off because they're like, oh, you're living in sin and you need to go get married. Oh, he'll change. He'll get better. Maybe when you get married, things will change and and it's sad though. A lot of churches are teaching that, the man is in charge and, stay there and the women should serve the men and all of that. But I don't know if church people realize how dangerous that is to, tell women that, And okay, Karen says she may not have experienced or witnessed a loving relationship. Exactly. A lot of people don't know what a healthy, positive, loving relationship is. So therefore they stay and, as long as they have those good moments. I think one of y'all said that. I think Michelle said that. Like every now and then, if the moment is good, then that makes up for the beatings that you've endured And so, or people stay for the kids. And if you're out there, women, and you're listening, please don't stay for the kids, because you're doing more harm to them than you think you are. Because the kids are witnessing this. I can't tell you how many times people have came into session and they've had a horrible childhood. They watched their parents fight. They've watched, you know, a negative environment, and then they grew up and they learned that they learn that's how a relationship should be, and then they carry that generational curse on and on and on and on. And so Michelle says the scary part is she don't answer the phone for days. I think the worst I could have something done to him, but for what, she stands by him, so I'm not going to get anyone else involved. Oh, Michelle, I lost your comment. Hold on, let me go back. Oh, there it is. Okay, so I'll put it on here. Michelle says, the scary part is when she don't answer the phone for days. I think the worst I could have something done to him, but for what? She stands by him, so I'm not going to get anyone else involved. So Michelle, it's that bad. So it's almost like that's why domestic violence is really hard, because I think once the woman is in that situation, she doesn't listen to the people that love her and that see the danger in the relationship, and they just, just go along with him, and they just block everybody else out. And it's that term, I know it sounds cliche, but love is blind, and it really is. Like, love is blind. And Karen says they should definitely not get married. I agree, Karen. I just wanted to throw that out there because I wanted to see, like I was saying earlier, some churches teach that, get married. You had a kid with this person, that's why preachers have to really be careful what you're up there preaching, telling women to get married, stay with the men because you had a baby or whatever, but you don't know what's going on in these people's houses. They can be getting the crap beat out of them, and you would never know. And you're up there ministering them and telling them to stay with this man or this woman, because men get into domestic violence relationships as well, And Karen, that's a good point. You say they may be experiencing shame and humiliation. Oops, and I lost another. Hold on, y'all. Okay, and then Michelle says, let's see what you got, Michelle. Michelle says, my daughter stays for her daughter, and she can talk now, and she tells what he does to her. Yeah, and that's the bad thing, Michelle. The kids, like, to me, and staying for your kid, you are creating such a bad family experience for your kids. You think you're doing the right thing by staying there because, hey, dad is in the picture. But if he's not a good dad, it's better off that he's not there, Okay, and Pat says sometimes women are afraid to be alone. Right. That is a whole nother show. Like, are you so desperate to be with someone that you're willing to sacrifice yourself and your health, your physical health, your mental health, to just say you're in a relationship? And that's the thing with me. That's why I'm good on relationships, because I don't want to be in a relationship just because to say I'm in a relationship or I have somebody, and then I'm miserable at home. And I'm telling y'all, it is how many? They said it's where's my statistics? I think it was 10 million people in the world experience domestic violence. Yeah, more than 10 million Americans suffer at the hands of a loved one in a domestic violence situation. And again, I want to find my number that I put up here. And so all the people that just joined, we are discussing the story, and I'm going to find it so I can post it back on the screen. Yeah. There it is. So this lady says, my boyfriend beat me black and blue after he suspected I was on the phone with another man. He later found out that the man was my brother and apologized. And he basically wants to get married. And You know, I guess she's accepting that. Have anybody ever met someone you could tell that they were in a domestic violence situation and you didn't know how to help them? Has anybody ever experienced that? Let me find my 1-800 number. There we go. And then I just put it on the screen again, 1-800-799-7233. I sound like a commercial. National Violence Domestic Hotline. So this phone number is good for anywhere you are. It's national. So share that. And let me see. Tanisha, I stop where you are. I'm coming back at you. Tanisha says, if she has any self-love, she would have, oops, hold on. There we go. Sorry, I couldn't see it. If Tanisha says, if she has any self-love, she would not marry this man and just leave. But people, when they don't know, that's a good point. But when people don't know what love is, and this is all they have, then they tend to stay in this relationship. I think a lot of y'all said this earlier, is that they don't really know what love is. And this is being beaten, being beat up. And she's probably this lady that we just was reading about, she probably is happy that he asked her to marry him, that he asked her to marry him. Sorry. And she's probably really, really happy about that. While we're all looking like, girl, what? Are you all right? You know? So Pat says, so they prefer to stay with the man. Yep. It's all on my dissertation. Yeah, so my friend Pat on here, she's writing a dissertation on domestic violence. And that's why I knew she was the expert on here. So if I'm saying anything wrong, Pat, correct me. But again, everybody out there, it's National Domestic Violence Month, the month of October. So the Dr. Dare Show, that's why we're talking about this as well, but we wanted to hear insights. It's hard. It's easy for outsiders to look at this relationship and say, I would do this, that, but when you're in the situation, it's more difficult to see that light, especially like a lot of y'all brought up good points. Sometimes the women don't have a place to stay, or they don't have any family, or they think this is love and they think this is how it's supposed to be. Maybe mom and dad used to do this, and dad used to beat the crap out of mom, and we still stayed a family. So I think it's okay for us to be like this. There's nothing wrong with it. Some people think like this, and we don't realize that. Oh, it's a motorcycle gang going by. They always come by at this time of night. Anyway, so yeah, a lot of people don't realize that this is domestic violence. Like, Karen says, yes, men experience domestic violence as well. I had a very good male friend who was in an abusive relationship for years. His domestic partner kept threatening to kill himself and guilted my friend into staying. Oh yeah, that's that other trick. It's like they give you so much shame that you feel like you're obligated to stay in this relationship, or you feel like you don't have anything else, or you don't want to be single. You don't want your friends. I'm going to post that, Karen, because that's a good. You don't want your friends to, say anything negative like, oh, I knew he couldn't keep a man, or she couldn't keep a man, or he couldn't keep a woman, or whatever the scenario is. And they fall into this trap of caring what everybody else thinks. How many people know that people who stayed in bad relationships because they're worried about what their friends are going to say? Like, oh, you couldn't stay in a relationship. Like, sorry, I was parched. And so I won't see couples. That's one of my things as a therapist. I won't see couples if there's domestic violence in a situation. I feel like you need to go to seek individual counseling, and that other person needs to go seek individual counseling, because I truly believe that if you're beating on somebody, if you're physically taking your hands and you're punching somebody or hitting, there is something mentally going on that you need to work out on your own. You probably need not to be in any type of relationship. If it's sex you want, then go out, get sex, leave that person alone, and carry your butt on. But if you know you have a violent temper, and you can't control yourself and you can't keep your hands to yourself, you don't need to be in a relationship. And so if couples are trying to come to me for therapy, and if you're talking about there's some domestic violence, some physical stuff, I'm cutting that off. I'm sending one of y'all to another counselor for therapy and another one. So yeah. Okay, what we got? I'm sorry, y'all. I'm talking so much. Okay. And Pat says I experienced it many moons ago. So Pat, you've had this experience, and Michelle is actually sharing her experiences. Thank you through her what her daughter's going through. So thank you, Michelle, for being open and vulnerable in this setting, sharing your experiences. You're saying my daughter was happy when he asked her to marry him, but he had just beat on her like a week before, and she accepted it. I'm just going to keep praying for her and hope she will leave before he hit her too hard and kill her. That is the thing that people don't realize. If you hit somebody in the wrong spot or the wrong place, you could kill them. And then you're looking crazy, right? And so what I used to do, I used to run a group. It was a mandated anger management group. And there was this guy in there that he went black and was choking his wife, and then woke up out of this anger episode and realized that I need help because I don't know what I just did. So yeah, it's very, very, very dangerous. And I know it's scary. We can talk about that topic, Michelle. It's scary sitting there watching this happen and not really being able to do anything about it. That's a scary part, right? Thank you for sharing, Michelle, because thank you. And Pat is agreeing with Karen. Yes. And I think she was agreeing because Karen said, and I'll put her topic back up there. She says, yes, men experience domestic violence as well. I am a very good male friend who was in an abusive relationship for years. His domestic partner kept threatening to kill himself and guilted my friend into staying. Yes. And when you got two people and they have low self-esteem, both of them, because people think that people who are abusing others have this power control, but no, they're the ones with that low self-esteem. I'm reading this book now that even shows that people that commit domestic violence or have sexual issues like that have been abused themselves. This book is called The Sexual Healing Journey, and it just teaches you like what to look for when people have sexual abuse trauma. And a lot of it is people sleeping around, not realizing that, hey, something's wrong, and let me keep going. I see a lot of comments coming in. Okay, where we at? Oh, I went way back. Okay, hold on. I'm going to put that domestic violence number up there again. It is Domestic Violence Month. October is National Domestic Violence Month. That number is 1-800-799-7233, the National Violence Domestic Hotline. It is a national number. You can call wherever you are. And if you suspect anybody that you know is being abused, here's some signs that I did research on, and I'll read some of the symptoms the signs that somebody's in an abusive relationship. Being afraid of your partner, being accused of having an affair, blames you for the abuse, criticizes you, tells you what to wear, how you should look, threatens to kill or hurt someone close to you, throws things and punches walls when they're angry, yells at you, made you feel small, controls your money, I can't read the rest of my handwriting. Cuts you off. I see it. Cuts you off from family and friends. And then there's that physical abuse. And like I said, sexual abuse. There is something wrong with that person. It is just not them beating on this other person. Because it takes a lot to me to actually punch somebody else or hit somebody else is really, really. Okay, so hold on. Let me make sure. Mother and father not emotional available. Right. And that's why I said, if you are in a domestic violence situation right now, please don't stay for the kids. You're doing more harm to them than you ever know, because they're learning your behavior. You ever heard of social learning? You learn how to socialize, how to be social in the environment that you grow up in. So sometimes you take that stuff in and you internalize it. And then when you grow up, guess what? You think that's how things are in everybody's household, and it's not. Thank you, Pat, for that. Mother and father not emotionally available. Karen says she may not have experienced or witnessed a loving relationship. True. Back onto the side of the female or the other male or the other woman that's being abused. Because lesbian couples have domestic abuse, gay couples have domestic abuse, heterosexual couples have domestic abuse, domestic abuse, domestic violence. So no one escapes this thing. If you meet the wrong person and the first thing you see is that red flag of isolation, they're trying to isolate you from people. They're controlling you, trying to see where you're going, what you're doing, who you're hanging with. When it's overboard and they have a violent, some people are like that and they don't have a temper with it. And that's okay, but if they're violent and they start to try to control you, and some of the signs that I read, then you have to realize what beeped. Okay, let's see. She may not experience. Okay, Michelle says, oh, I read that. They should definitely not get married. Oh, my comments went way back up. Hold on. Sorry, y'all. Let me catch up. Okay. I'm going to share Michelle's again. She said her daughter was happy when he asked her to marry him, but he had just beat on her like a week before, and she accepts. I'm just going to keep. Oh, you were saying you were going to pray about it, Michelle. Agreed, Karen. Me. Kelly, you said me. Tell me what you mean by me, Kelly. I just saw that, Nicole Kelly. Karen says having a wedding and being married is two different things, and so many people get that confused. It's not about the cake, wedding, dress, and honeymoon. There's a whole marriage you're invested in after the wedding pictures are printed. That is so true, Karen. I think a lot of people get caught up, especially women. I'm not a chauvinist or anything, but women have this idea of this white wedding, this fabulous wedding that they've dreamed about all their lives. And I don't care what is going on in that relationship. They could be getting beat like this lady that we were talking about, and they would just, they want that wedding. I don't know if y'all seen this clip on Facebook. There's this man and a woman, and they're sharing cake, and the man feeds the woman the cake, and she in turns takes her piece of cake and like toys with his mouth with the cake, and he gets mad and just slaps her. They just got married. So I think I would have been like, peace, this is out. And you can see everybody at the wedding just like, oh my God, what just happened? Time to go. But yeah, Karen, thank you. That is a good point. People don't get caught up on that stuff. Make sure the person that you choose to be in your life is the one for you. And you can start seeing these things, like everybody said on here. There are red flags that you see right away. And that little voice that you hear in your head, please listen to it. Because I think it's your intuition, and I think God has placed that into everybody's head for a reason. Like, this is your warning sign. And I think you should listen to that warning sign. Let me see some more stuff. Yeah, thank you, Michelle, again for sharing that story. The cycle of violence, Fred. Yes, there's a cycle of violence, and that's what I call that generational curse, where grandma got beat by granddaddy, and then great granddaddy beat great grandma, and then dad beat mom, and then the cycle just continues. And that's a generational curse. And until somebody seeks therapy, brown people, we need therapy. All black and brown people, we need therapy. It's not just a rich white person's thing to seek therapy. I believe that couples, as soon as they start dating and they think it's going to be serious, I think I talked about this last week, is that you should seek therapy initially so that you can see, so the therapist can help you explore your relationship, help you explore your partner. You know, she was answering your question. Oh, Kelly was answering my question. Okay, sorry, Kelly. You say, do you know of anyone who stayed? Okay, yeah. Sorry, Kelly. Yeah. So yeah, you know somebody who stayed. I think we all do. We all know people that stayed, and we kind of sat um on the sidelines, like what is happening. But it's easy when you're not in it. Like I said earlier, it's easy when you're not in the relationship, so you don't know. You could say, if I was her, if I was him, I would beat his tail, or I would get out and I would walk out. But that person has learned who you are. They've learned how to manipulate you, um, in and out. They know it, and they know, and people can tell when you're in love with them, right? And they will use that to manipulate you. But the first thing they have to do is start isolating you from that family, getting you away from people that really care about you. So women out there, if your family is saying, I don't think that's quite right, you might want to take a listen, and you might want to stop and realize those people have your best interest at heart. Yeah, Kelly, sorry about that. Yep, I saw that. It was crazy. So Tennille, Tony, you saw it. Hey, you saw where that couple, the man fed the lady the cake, and then she fed him the cake, but she was playing, like toying around with it, and he just let her have it, right? And so horrible. And Karen says, I was in a wedding once where no one knew but the maid of honor that the bride was being abused. A year after the wedding, the bride told us that she was ashamed and went through her expensive wedding and reception to save face because her parents had already paid for everything. Her husband abused her mentally, physically, drained her finances. She saved up her money and got a quick divorce. Thank God she seemed therapy. She seeked therapy to heal. Yeah, that's a horrible story. But you know what, Karen? That happens. I'm gonna post that. That happens so often because, again, we have so much pride when we've invested all of this time and energy into these relationships, and then when they fail, we feel like we have to save face. I'm here to tell y'all, don't let people. I was telling a client this the other night. You have to advocate for yourself. Don't listen to people. People are going to say things whether you do good, whether you do bad. That's why I tell people, stop asking people what you should do when they don't have any experience on the topic that you're talking about. Because yeah, they're going to tell you what they think, but what's their experience? Where did they get their degree? What's So please don't listen to people. And if you're in a domestic violence situation, I posted a number, and I'll find it again and pin it up later. But it is National Domestic Violence Month, and I have the number here. I'll read it, but it's posted. You'll see it in the chat. It's 1-800-799-7233. Yeah. And so, yep. And again, like, there is more than 10 million Americans who suffer at the hands of loved ones during domestic violence. So if you are a man out there and you know that you have those negative tendencies to touch women or touch men or touch other people, don't get in a relationship. Work through that. Go to therapy. I'm telling you, that's not going to change, and that's going to escalate, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse and worse, and it's not going to be a good thing. Okay, next. I'm just yapping. Also, Karen says, also the male children are seeing men beat their mates, and that is where they learn it from. Yes, it's called social learning. That's what social learning is. You learn from the environment where you are socializing. And it's not I think people think when I say that I'm saying the dad sat down and told the son, yes, beat the wife when she doesn't do this, or beat your partner when they don't do this. No, that's what I'm saying. You're seeing it, you're internalizing it, it's going into your consciousness, and you're learning this stuff. And then you grow up and you're like, where did I get this from? The best thing I can advise anybody out there, if you have kids and they've seen this stuff, seek therapy for them so that they can, what we call, process it, talk about it, get it out, understand it, be aware of it. Because I truly believe when you become aware of something, you can change it. When you ignore something, it's just going to keep coming on until it rears its ugly head. Okay, I got some comments out of here. Michelle said, but that's not always true. I saw my mother and father fight when I was a kid, but I have had guys try it with me, but I wasn't having it. You have one time to put your hands on me and you're gone. And that's true, Michelle. And I didn't generalize. I said if some people, depending on who you are, may take that in and carry that trait on to other people, but some people are not. You were one of the fortunate ones that I guess you went the opposite way and said, and thanks again for sharing. I'm about to post that on the page there. You are one of the fortunate ones who took the opposite side and said, oh, I see that stuff right now and that's not going to happen to me. But a lot of people don't. And it's not like they go do it on purpose. It's not like they go say, oh, my dad beat my mom, I'm going to beat my girlfriend. It's the temper you have inside of you that you need to get processed, I think. What do y'all think? Good point, Michelle. I posted that up there. But yeah, everybody doesn't, because you're in that environment, take that same step. Everybody's different. We all know that. You know, that's why some serial killers' parents would be like, we never saw anything when little Jeffrey Dahmer was growing up. Excuse me. And then others will say that they do. So it just depends. Okay, Pat said, when I was young and I stayed in the relationship because I didn't want to go back to live with my mom. This was many moons ago. Thank you for sharing that, Pat. So basically, Pat, your goal was to stay away from home. And it didn't matter what's going on. And I think that's how some people get stuck. I'm glad you brought that up. I think that's how some women get stuck into these situations. It's like, okay, I do not want to go back home. I'm going to stay with this boyfriend. The boyfriend that was so nice in the beginning and that was just so, you know, he was your support system. And then all of a sudden one night, that switch went off and that person became, you know, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. What is that saying? Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Pat. I'm loving that y'all sharing y'all stories because y'all don't have to, but I'm glad you are because it's going to help people out there who are listening who may be in these predicaments and don't understand, you know. I think that ghost is back in here. My lamp is over there. It's flickering. So I'm going to read Michelle's again. She says, that is not always true. I saw my mother and father fight when I was a kid, but I have had guys try it with me. Michelle, like, you touch me, I'm a kid. But I'm glad you went that route. But some women or some men don't. And they fall into those, you know, either they're the abuser or they're being abused. So they can take it. It can go either way. But everybody's different. So thank you for sharing that piece. And thank you, Pat. Again, I'll read yours. I was young and I stayed in the relationship because I did not want to go back to live with my mom. This was many, many moons ago. And that happens too. That really does. You know, you just don't want to go back home. You don't want to deal with it. Yes, Michelle, I wouldn't stand for that either. So Karen is agreeing with Michelle. Like, nah, that ain't happening. And Tony says, Tennille says, so many children I see are angry and aggressive from being raised in homes where there is physical and emotional abuse. Yes, that's what I'm telling y'all. These kids, you think you're staying for your kids when you're in an abusive relationship because you want them to have a dad Please scratch that from your memory or your thought process, because that's not, ask any therapist. That's not the answer. Leave so that your child can be in a social environment where they can grow and prosper and learn how to love and how to be loved and how to be a better person and be a good contributor to the society, and when they grow up and have a mate that they love and they respect. But if you keep them in that negative environment, who knows what the outcome is? It's just, you never know. Like Michelle said, she came out good, but then John Doe or Sally Sue or Tracy or Susie or may not come out that way. There's no perfect, there's no, no one knows how they're going to turn out, what is going to impact them. But trust me, I see a lot of clients and all their issues stem from their childhood. So there's something to what goes on in that childhood home. That childhood home is going to come back some kind of way in your present when you're an adult, and it's going to be a part of your I like that, Tony. Thank you for sharing that. Michelle said laugh out loud. What you laughing out loud, Michelle? Um, this is a great discussion. Yeah, it is. It is. We're learning so much. Like I said, it's Domestic Violence Month. The number, if you're recognizing any of this in somebody and you want to get them help, the number I posted earlier, but I will say it again and I will post it at the end of the show. It's 1-800 799 7233 or 1-800-799-SAFE. And it is the National Violence Domestic Hotline. It is National Violence Domestic Month, whichever way it's phrased. But October, that's what October is for. Great stuff, great stuff. Hopefully somebody's learning from this. Oh, she's laughing at my ghost, right? I told y'all this. Look, it's a ghost in here because I went in my bathroom and the soap was thrown on the floor. I don't care if y'all. Okay, Tanisha says, I'm with Michelle. Thankfully, I wasn't physically abused, but I was mentally abused in a 13-year relationship. It took me a while, but I finally got the guts to leave and go back home. I love that. Thank you for sharing that, Tanisha. And that brings up a good point. It's not always physical abuse either. It's mental. And that's sometimes worse than the physical, because what that creates, if someone's constantly dogging you out and telling you you're no good, that's going to create low self-esteem in you. You're going to be looking at yourself like you're nothing and no one cares. And that's what they want, so that they can isolate you and then treat you like trash or the way they want to treat you. So you have to look for, like everybody was saying earlier when we first started this discussion, is look for those red flags, because they're there when you first meet that person. How many agree with that? Those red flags are there when you first meet that person. They are there. And thank you, Tanisha, for sharing that, because mental abuse is there. This man probably mentally abused this lady. Every time she was near another man, he probably was like harassing her, like, oh, you want him, don't you? Oh, I see the way you looking at, and all of that. Then she becomes paranoid. She becomes, gets this low self-esteem, doesn't share, doesn't want to talk to anybody, feels bad about herself, and it can go on and on and on. Tanisha, what did you grab? The soap was thrown on the floor, Tanisha. Tanisha, what do you think how do you think you changed during that mental health abuse? How do you feel like you changed based on what that person was doing to you? Share if you want to. And then Pat says, and mental abuse makes it harder to leave. Yes. And then the red flags. Yep. Yeah, because they're in actual reality, they're teaching you how they want you to behave. And they're probably telling you nobody else wants you. You're not beautiful. You You're never going to find anybody that's like me or looks like me or treats me the way I treat you. I hope you do, because you treat me like crap. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Tanisha. Um, Red flags, yep, Pat. And mentally abuse makes it harder to leave the red flags. Red flags are there. They are there. They are there. And Karen says, so often you never really know what the person sitting next to you is going through. Exactly. And I think the more I do therapy and I see people, I'm more cognizant of that when I'm dealing with people, because I'm like, who knows what people are going through at home? You know, domestic violence, mental abuse, all of that. Especially now, you know, the rates for domestic violence are skyrocketing during COVID, because people have to sit with these people that they may never have had that opportunity to sit there and get to know each other, right? Because most couples are either coming or going, and that makes it easier. One's going to work, one's coming home, one's going to school, one's coming. And so you never actually, now through this COVID stuff, things are skyrocketing. Domestic violence is skyrocketing. There's some crazy stuff happening. We hear on the news every day since COVID, because people are at home. Children are being abused. There was just a story the other day where this man was making he was 17 years old. He was making his 7-year-old cousin give him oral sex. And he forgot that she was in school online and her classroom was looking in. So things are happening. Abuse, abuse, abuse. Let's see what I'm missing stuff. Hold on. Oh, yeah. Okay, so. Okay, yeah, Karen. So I covered yours. You said so often you never know what the person sitting next to you is going through. Yes. Tanil said yes. The emotional abuse stays longer than the abuses. That's true, because you have to work through that mental abuse. It's not just gonna go away. I don't care what people tell you. You can say, they could tell you that you're beautiful. They could tell you that you're worth more than whatever. But it's almost like retraining your mind. And it's really, 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 really hard. Mental abuse is, because it's almost like, and I see it every day in counseling, that it's hard to retrain someone's mindset once it's been ruined or destroyed. So let me post that. And Karen says, preach to Neil. Yes. Sorry, y'all. Okay. So Karen says, Dr. Dare, you emphasize taking notes and collecting data. Great advice, because the red flags are there early on. Yes. Last week I was telling people, if you're dating somebody, you should never stop collecting data, meaning you should always be asking questions to your mate. How was your family life? And I don't mean like an investigator, but in casual conversation, you should always be learning about that mate. You should never stop doing that, because you want to know. I'm telling you, you can learn a lot about a person if you know their upbringing, how they were raised. Like Karen says, those red flags are popping out when you're collecting that data. And that's important, because I think what happens is, the old Tina Turner song, what's love got to do with it? Nothing, if they're beating you up, if they're beating you like this lady. And love is blind. Like that statement is so true. I know it's cliche, but it's so true. When people fall in love, they get all stupid, I say, because they aren't focused. They don't understand what's going on. Yeah, it's a lot. So, yeah, what time we got? We've been talking for a long time. Okay, so we've been talking for an hour almost. But yes. Love is blind. Yes, it is. It really is. Well, I thank y'all for talking. Any more comments and stuff before we exit? We've been on the phone for an hour now. Great stuff, though. Thank y'all for sharing, Michelle and Tanisha. This helped people. Again, this is National Violence Domestic Month, the month of October. If you know somebody who's suffering from, also we got another comment, suffering from abuse or domestic abuse, and you don't know what to do, maybe give them the 1-800 number, the 1-800-799-SAFE or 1-800-799-7233. I have posted it in this chat so you can find it. Tanisha says, my friends and family were the ones who told me all along that they saw red flags that I didn't see. I had to figure it out for myself in the end. Wow. So you believe, Tanisha, that you were blinded by love or something like that, to where you didn't see these things. And that's the thing. Like I said, we're all on here talking about this, and we could see it. We could see it in another situation, but when you're in it, when you're in the middle of it, when you're living it, it's more difficult, you know. Michelle said we need to continue this on another day. We will. You know what? I'm going to find another domestic violence story and bring it, since next week is still October. I think it is the 29th, I believe. So we can continue it. Yep, Pat, you and Michelle are on the same thought process. I lost my thought process. Yes, we can continue a part 2 discussion on next Friday at 8:30. We will do that. I will find another story, or maybe I'll look for a domestic violence survivor somewhere and see if they can come on and talk and share their experiences as well, because it's very important. It's especially now with COVID, there's so many people trapped in a house with a demon. And that's the scary part. And like Karen was saying earlier, you never know who you're sitting beside that could be experiencing domestic violence, and they're scared to death. That is, for me, that gets me kind of choked up, because it's like, that's so sad that right now somebody is living this and they don't know what to do. And Tanisha says, yes, I was definitely blinded by love. And it happens. And like, there's no judgment, because we all meet people. And the thing is, they can tell that you're in love with them, and they know it. And then they manipulate that. They manipulate you with that. And so there's no judgment. There's no shame in that. Like, and I'm glad you got out of that, Tanisha. I am, because you deserve better, so, but now we know, like Karen was mentioning earlier and what we talked about last week, when you meet people, collect data. Don't ever just start falling for them and just falling into this love thing, because at the end, that's not important. I have a therapist friend who says he doesn't care if his couple say they love each other, but do they like each other? And, that's it. That's it. So we're going to continue this part 2 next week. Part 2. Yes, Karen, no judgment. We all deserve better. Yep. We can't judge. We are also not perfect. There's something about us that's a flaw. There's something we're all struggling with, and that's what we want to get over too, because that gets people in these situations, is when I feel like I got to be perfect. And so I don't want anybody to call my cards out. So I'm going to stay in this thing that I call a relationship, just to please everybody around me. Yeah. So part 2 next week. I'm signing out. We will finish this next week. Thank you all so much. Thank you for the ones that shared the story. And we will talk to y'all next week, 8:30 because of my class. So talk to y'all later.
We live in a world of likes and dislikes, with social media outlets to have you feeling like you're not right. The end of the day, the end of the night, you traveling through the universe without the proper sight.